What attracted you to the role of Sherlock?
Primarily the script. I feel that he's been incarnated before superlatively, both in black and white and colour, by Brett and Rathbone, for my money anyway. And I loved what Downey Jr. and the team did with the new sort of Warner Brothers franchise. I think it's very smart to make him an action man in Victorian guise. But the idea of modernising him and knowing that two men who were completely obsessed with the original source material were in charge of that made me feel quite secure about the idea of it being worthwhile. He's a very attractive character to play because he gets to speak his mind. He has an extraordinary ability, and it's just a lot of fun. And in the hands of those two scriptwriters, you get a lot of just beautifully drawn out scenarios, character studies, both of him and Watson and their burgeoning relationship.
Do you think he's a likable character?
Oh yeah, very much so. I mean, I think however much you may not want to share a flat with him or be in a conversation with him or ask him a question like that, because he'd be merciless and rude, he is very enjoyable as an audience to, you know, revel in his sort of superiority and his straight talking. I think it's, you know, we kind of live in a world where that's our fantasy other life. It's the French phrase esprit d'escalier, and you think, that's what I should have said. And he always has not just bon mots ready. I mean, he is slightly sort of sociopathic and autistic in his approach to people. And I think sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally, he can be incredibly, vastly rude and miss the mark as well, with people who are trying to help him and actually would be good to be on side with. But going back to the original question, yeah, I think he's fierce, he's adventurous, he's funny, and he's often right, and he's good. He's a good person to be in company of. So yeah, I do think he's likable.
What's the relationship between Holmes and Watson like?
It's brilliant. I mean, it's, you know, it's an interesting thing to re-examine it in the 21st century, because two bachelors of a certain age living together, questions get asked or even answered by some people with supposition. But it's a beautiful thing, you know. It's a very real thing. I think Holmes is quite an extraordinary character, and I think Watson is too. But he comes from a world that we recognise. He's a returning traumatised doctor, soldiering doctor from Afghanistan. You know, so he's very real. He's sort of the audience figure, the everyman, even though he's seen extraordinary things which have traumatised him, and also is in need of danger and action, and hence is drawn like a moth to the flame to Sherlock. And I think what they discover through each other is that they absolutely fit. They need each other. It's the idea that he's the grounding anchor to this rather ethereal, otherworldly, slightly well, yeah, bombastic character. He brings him to earth and also helps him pragmatically, you know. Not by doing the dishes, although he probably does. I think Holmes doesn't go anywhere near the dishes. Well, I know he doesn't in ours. So yeah, he's probably the one who fills the food with fridge and does all the sort of slightly more domestic chores. Although Mrs. Hudson breaks the back on that one, I think, you know. She does the major amount of work there.
Did you get to do many action scenes?
Yeah, quite a few. Got blown up, got run over, got leaping off rooftops, running through museums, sliding across the floors, firing guns, sliding across the floors, being fired at by guns. Yeah, an awful lot, an awful lot. I love it. Really, really love it. Jumping off a balcony at one point, I think, as well, down 2 stories. Great fun, really good fun.
What's the relationship like between Sherlock and the police?
Tempestuous, uneven, but very needed. He's someone who can operate outside the bureaucracy of the blue or red tape, whatever you want to call it. And Lestrade needs him. He hates to admit it, but he has enough humility to put his pride aside, unlike some of the others on the team. I think what the police hate about him is he comes onto a crime scene and gets a story very quickly. And they're like, no, that's rubbish. Where's the proof? And he's already he's lumped together what he can visually or orally or detect within the room, within the space of the scene, just as a human being, and collated it into a cohesive narrative whereby there's a protagonist, there's the criminal, and a possible motivation. Sometimes they're red herrings, sometimes they're dead ends, but I think the police find it incredibly helpful but incredibly frustrating as well.
Did you enjoy all the references to the original Sherlock novel?
Yeah, very much so, because it means that they are being true to their word. They weren't going to back out of being the loyal, Conan Doyle worshipping fans that they originally were, who set about making a modern adaptation. So yeah, it was very important to do that. There was, everything from a deduction that was based originally around a watch in the sign of fortune has now become about a mobile phone, to details of their background and family and history as well that have all been sort of updated, and not in a cheapening way either. That's what's thrilling about it. They've been And the more for it as well. I mean, I think, you know, as we go on, we want to use more of the original stories and then maybe escape slightly from the form of the books. But what's not to enjoy about those stories? I mean, that's the source material, and they're just brilliant, brilliant books.